Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, this is what we want as Star Wars fans, right? This is what we want as Star Wars fans. Am I right? Am I right? Ladies and gentlemen, what a great day it is. Because today, we get to talk about the new season of The Mandalorian and a great episode, great episode of The Bad Batch Season 2. And I know, I honestly, it sounds crazy to me even saying it, but the Bad Batch episode was so good this week. And of course, The Mandalorian Season 3 started this week, so we got a lot to talk about. Even more Star Wars news has come out regarding Mandalorian Season 3, of course, but Episode 2. Even some other news regarding other cool Star Wars-y things. We got a lot to talk about today, but first of all, The Bad Batch. I was absolutely shocked. Of course, we stayed up and did a watch party on the channel, which was so much fun. Thank you guys for showing up. It was awesome. And we watched it. My favorite part was the Purgle showing up. And in my reaction to that was a little crazy because it was 4 a.m. and I thought I was hallucinating, seeing Purgle everywhere. But it was a lot of fun. Absolutely a blast. And that's how you know that it was such a good episode, because we had just so much fun watching it. And we're going to break it down. But we watched it live, of course, right? And then the day went on, and I kind of forgot about the Bad Batch. I went to sleep after we had the live watch party, and then we did the breakdown video later in the day for the episode. And then somebody in the Discord, of course, shout out to the Discord. There's a Discord in the description. There's a link to it in the description below, to a Discord called The People Who Love Star Wars. If you want to go chat with some Star Wars people, there are some people in there who's talking all the time. But somebody mentioned, has anybody watched The Bad Batch today? And I was like, hang on, no, I haven't. And they said, oh, it's good. So I watched it, and I was absolutely shocked. Like, just blown away. Because you guys know, I have not been a fan of The Bad Batch. Like, we're 10 episodes, now 11 episodes in, and I was like, this is, no thanks. It's just not that good. Because of the fact that, it was 8 episodes of filler and 2 episodes of good content. Like, that's kind of, it's The Bad Batch, and nobody really expected anything great from it, and we weren't getting anything great from it until this week. Okay, so before we break down The Bad Batch, we're doing The Bad Batch first. I know The Mandalorian was epic, and we'll get to it. But The Bad Batch first. What did you think of Episode 11 of The Bad Batch Season 2? Rank it out of 10 in the chat as you come in, and we will be breaking it down. We will be breaking it down live. Okay? Hang on 1 second. Here we go. Okay. So, this episode literally came out of left field. Like, just did not expect it to be this good. I was like, holy guacamole, this is crazy. Yep, that's exactly what I said. When I was watching it, I was like, holy guacamole, this is crazy. That's exactly what I said. Okay. So, hang on. Trying to rearrange my my stuff here. Here we go. All right. So, it starts off with this ship destroyed in space, and it was some monster eating the stormtroopers on board, right? And this guy, of course, dies. He dies. But we come to find out later on that was actually a Zillo beast. But we're not getting ahead of ourselves. It immediately cuts, doesn't mess around at all, immediately cuts to Mount Tantus. So I've been begging for Mount Tantus for 8 weeks, 9 weeks now, and we finally got it this week. Mount Tantus is here. Okay, let me fix the screen a little bit. I'm going to drag it over because that's where most of my pictures are going to go anyway. So Mount Tantus, okay? Mount Tantus, finally. Now, I'm sure some of you know Mount Tantus from Legends with Heir to the Empire, Thrawn, Palpatine using Mount Tantus, all that stuff. But this is the first ever canonized Mount Tantus. first ever canon appearance of Mount Tantus, and even referred to as Mount Tantus by this guy who we get introduced to right here, Dr. Hemlock. Now this guy seems badass already. I love his character. Honestly, when he first came on the screen, I thought he was what's the name of the bounty hunter that Obi-Wan disguises himself as in the Clone Wars. That's kind of what I thought it was at first, and I kind of got way too excited very quickly. But this is Dr. Hemlock, and he's kind of the doctor in charge here at Mount Tantus, right? And he's badass already. He has some scenes with Nala Se that we'll talk about in a little bit. But he finds out that the ship has crashed, and he's like, we need what is on that ship. So he sends out a whole entire like fleet after it. Then we got to the Bad Batch, and you got Tech, Hunter, Omega, and Wrecker. They're talking to Sid, and they're pretty upset at Sid because she left them out to die, pretty much, on the planet where they were. They called her, saying that they lost their ship and they needed her help, and she was like, nah, you're fine. And that's kind of just how that played out in the episodes beforehand. So Sid says, I got another job for you, you know, because that's what you guys do. You need money. And they're like, okay, but 50-50. And they go, okay, sure, fine, 50-50. You guys can go do it. They don't know what the job is. They don't know what they're going into, but they find this crashed ship on the planet, go into the ship itself, and find out that they were shipping this beast. Now, they don't know what this beast is at first, but come to find out, it is the frickin' Zillo Beast. So the Zillo Beast, first introduced in the Clone Wars, attacks Coruscant. Now, we find out later on in this episode as we go on, as Tech informs us, that this is the Zillo Beast, and it can feed off of energy. So, of course, it starts off very small like this, but it grows and grows and grows until it is literally just this gigantic beast that destroys a lot of things. So, the Bad Batch actually let it out of the ship itself, and it starts going for the city, and that causes the conflict for the episode, right? So then we come to find out that Nala Se, back on Mount Tantus, we saw Nala Se get brought to Mount Tantus at the end of Season 1 of The Bad Batch, correct? And what we come to find out is that she was not cooperating and is now sitting in a cell. So she's a prisoner now on Mount Tantus, and Dr. Hemlock is interrogating her, right? So Dr. Hemlock is interrogating her, telling her, saying like, you don't want to be a part of this huge thing? Well, then we're going to make you be a part of this big scientific discovery, whatever. So what does he do? There's only one other species of Kaminoans left, at least as far as we know, and that is the Prime Minister. So the Prime Minister is held captive on Coruscant, so he calls out for the Prime Minister to come later on in the episode, at the end of the episode. Cut back to that planet. The Zillo Beast has grown quite a bit. So the Zillo Beast is like ginormous at this point. And here we go. Yeah, you guys can see it. Okay. And the Zillo Beast is like just humongous right now. And there we go. Perfect. Okay. And it's feeding off the energy of the energy grid and all that stuff. So the Zillo Beast is so cool. It's got like 3 arms. It's just a very strong, powerful being that the Empire is trying to use its armor or skin to create armor because it can't be penetrated by blasters, right? Just fast forward to the end when the Empire comes in with their whole entire fleet and just gun down the Zillo Beast, literally just putting it down, not killing it, but putting it down, putting it to sleep, whatever you want to call it, so that they can transport it back to Mount Tantus. Are you with me so far? Are you with me so far? This is what we're talking about here. The Bad Batch, okay? 11 episodes in, and Crosshair's been in one episode. One episode. He was in episode 3, and a lot of people think that was the best episode so far. Of course not until this episode. But wow. The Zillo Beast back, and fans are loving it. And honestly, nobody is even talking about Crosshair, how he's not in any of these episodes. Nobody cares. Because as long as the episodes are as good as this one was, no one gives a flying pig. I don't know. Something clean. No one cares that Crosshair's not in the episodes as long as the episodes are good. That's all that matters. So the episode comes to an end when the Prime Minister of the Kaminoans comes to Mount Tantus, right? And talks with Dr. Hemlock and says, we need Nalisay to help us. So you're going to help us, help her, help us. Help us, make her help us. Correct. English, yes. And she says, okay, well, there's one way that you can get her to help, and that's by capturing this girl. Of course, talking about Omega. So now the rest of this season is going to be straight fire, straight just foot on the gas, just all out everything. There's only 5 episodes left, and the last 2 episodes are doubled up. So there's only 4 weeks left of this show. And I think the rest of the show is just going to be straight fire, all about Mount Tantus, all about the Empire trying to come get Omega, and of course the Bad Batch trying to protect Omega. So maybe they'll send out bounty hunters at first like they did before with Cad Bane and maybe Fennec Shand again. Who knows? But I think they're going to send their best of the best, meaning possibly the first look at young Inquisitors, like just created Inquisitors. Or maybe Palpatine just sends Vader. He just sends Vader after Omega, and of course the Bad Batch don't stand a chance. What are the chances? Now hear me out. Let's go full screen for this. What are the chances that the Bad Batch Season 2 ends with all of the Bad Batch being wiped out by Darth Vader? What are the chances of that? Is that at all a possibility? Is the second season of the Bad Batch the last? Do you think we'll go on for more seasons? Because if Palpatine sends Vader after Omega, the Bad Batch are going to die. They're going to die. Unless they just somehow narrowly escape, like Cal does in Jedi Fallen Order or something along those lines, the Bad Batch are dead. And Omega's going to be on Mount Tantus. God knows what she's going to be doing there. But we could also get a look at what's going on in Mount Tantus, because I'm sure it's not just a Zillo Beast. I'm sure that Grogu might be there. Maybe other Force sensitives that were at the Jedi Temple that they captured instead of killed could be there. It's gonna be a great next 5 episodes, and I actually can't wait. This is the first time I'm sitting here. Literally every Thursday for the past 8 weeks, I've been saying, what the heck? Filler. I honestly can't give you predictions for the next episode because I don't know. The last episode didn't make me excited for the next episode. That's completely different today. Completely different. I am so looking forward to next week's episode. And now it's great. It's great. Mount Tantus. Been begging for it for weeks and weeks and weeks. Finally got it, and it delivered. Absolutely delivered. With the Zillo Beast. With now they're hunting down Omega. Something to look forward to. Something to look forward to, something to predict about, something to theorize about, something to speculate as a fandom about. The only problem is, and yes, of course, there always has to be a problem with Lucasfilm and Disney, is that The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian just started today, or yesterday. The Mandalorian just started the same day that all this crazy stuff we just went over happened. So what are the chances, like I said at the beginning of the video, I had to be told on the Discord, again, description, link to Discord. I had to be told in the Discord, has anybody seen the Bad Batch episode today? It was awesome. And I was like, holy crap, I completely forgot about the Bad Batch because of the Mandalorian. The Mandalorian was great. So good. Can't wait for next episode. And of course, we'll be breaking down this week's episode in a second here. But the Bad Batch probably lost so many viewers just because the Mandalorian came out this week, which is insane. I know it's crazy, and I'm sure you're like, who cares about the Bad Batch anyway? But this episode needs to be watched by so much more people because it was so good. And brings in Mount Tantus, which again could tie into the Mandalorian further down the line. It's the Emperor's contingency plan, and Thrawn might be involved. It's crazy. So I think the Bad Batch is going to be straight fire for the rest of the season. And I think it's going to be something to look forward to. However, for some weird reason, although there are 7 days in the week, for some strange reason, the two Star Wars shows that are coming out at the same time. Again, weird reason they overlapped them. Don't know why. But they overlapped them, and they put them out at the same day of the week. Don't know why. Just, they're crazy. They're absolutely lost their minds. Like, The Mandalorian started coming out on Fridays. Moved to Wednesdays, and that's okay. But I have two shows coming out on Wednesdays. One of them's going to suffer, and it's not going to be The Mandalorian. It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing. It's tough. It's tough. But on Tuesday, I said the Bad Batch is terrible. I don't care about the next episode, blah, 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 blah. And it literally took us 4 minutes to go over what my predictions were for the next episode because I didn't really have any. We went over the name of the next episode and all that stuff. It took 4 minutes. And today we're already 15 minutes into the stream and we're still talking about the Bad Batch because that episode was so good. It's a shame that The Mandalorian, I know, The Mandalorian was good. Don't get me wrong. The Mandalorian was fantastic. Loved the episode. Gave it an 8 out of 10. But this Bad Batch episode, I would give a 9.5 out of 10. It was that good. And the fact that a lot of people are going to miss it because The Mandalorian came out on the same day is just wrong. It's wrong. And Disney has to get their act together and put one of these shows, just one of them, on a different date. I don't care if you put the Bad Batch at 5 in the afternoon on a Sunday or something crazy like that. Just put it on a different day. I don't care. All right, enough about the Bad Batch, I guess. Enough about the Bad Batch. We'll talk about The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian Season 3. Okay? The premiere. Chapter 17, Episode 1, whatever you want to call it. Chapter 17 is here. And it was called The Apostate, I do believe. And it was fantastic. Oh my goodness. Rank it out of 10 in the comments right now, or in the chat right now. What did you think of this Mandalorian episode? What did we think? What did we think? I already told you I gave it an 8 out of 10. An 8 out of 10. And that is actually really high for me. I mean, I was expecting it to be very, very good. Just rank it out of 10 in the comments right now. I'm going to put up a poll right now to see what you guys thought. I did put up a poll on my channel, actually. Let's go check that out. How is that poll doing? Let's see. So what do we think about the Mandalorian premiere? Season 3 premiere. Rank it out of 10 in the chat. I posted on the... Hang on, where is this? I posted on the posts, or whatever you want to call it, the community tab on the channel. And as of right now, let's pull it up. As of right now... Oh, this is going to do... Hang on. This is going to do a thing. Hang on. Just don't listen. Oh, never mind. We're good. Never mind that. Okay, so in the community tab, you will see there's a vote. So it is... let me pull it up. Let me pull it up for you. So it is, what did you think about The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 1? Okay? So the options were loved it, liked it, it was all right, and I hated it. And look at I hated it with 0%. That's where we want to be. That's where we want to be. With the Star Wars fandom, with the new show, the hit show The Mandalorian, it's back, and nobody hated it. Okay, of course, it's a small portion size, only 40 votes here. But it is great to see that nobody absolutely hated it. Now, a lot of people said it was all right, 10% of people, but 56% of you loved it. And that's what we like to see. That's what we love to see from The Mandalorian premiere, okay? So what did you guys think right now? What did you guys think? Tell me in the chat. I'm going to pull up a poll right here. Let's check out the comments, actually. Haven't watched it, but I'll watch it. And he actually came back and said, whatever, too family-friendly, derpy. If you're in here, why? I said why, and you just liked the message. I'm confused. So let me pull this up here. Let's pull it up. Let's pull it up. Hang on. There we go. Let's pull it up. So, what did you think of Mando Season 3, Episode 1? We're going to do the same options. Loved it or your money back. Loved it. Liked it. It was all right. It was all right. Or hated it. I hate you. I just put I hate you. Whoops. Okay. My fault. So tell me what you think. Tell me what you think. Patrick first in today says, I liked it but didn't love it. I think I will love it when he goes to Mandalore though. So yeah, we got a lot to talk about episode 2. There's some crazy stuff going around. I'll just give you a little sneak peek at it. We're going to get into it after we break down the episode. Sneak peek at it. It's going to be 42 minutes. As of right now, as it stands, the runtime is supposed to be 42 minutes, which is awesome. Awesome. But Patrick, I get where you're coming from. What do you think about out of 10? Out of 10, Patrick. What do you think? Rank it out of 10. So let's start the breakdown here. Oh, whoops, that's still the Bad Batch breakdown. We just broke down the Bad Batch. It was good. It was all right. I mean, it's all right. No, I love that Bad Batch episode. It was fantastic. I mean, if you haven't watched the Bad Batch episode because you were like, oh, the Mandalorian's out, I'll watch that instead, watch the Bad Batch episode. So, the Mandalorian. So it starts off with the armorer making a new foundling a helmet, right? And it was very cool. You got to see all these different Mandalorians because in the book of Boba Fett, Paz Vizsla and the armorer say they're the last two of the remaining covert that was on Navarro, right? And now they have like 20, 30 of them on this planet and foundlings, young Mandalorian, ready to take the Kree and become Mandalorian. This gets rudely interrupted, very, very rudely interrupted, by a gigantic alligator slash turtle, whatever you want to call it, this gigantic thing. And all these Mandos are trying to fight it, and it's not really going too well. But, of course, who comes to save the day but Din and Grogu? Now, the armorer is very happy that he came to save the day because they most likely all would have just died to this giant alligator turtle thing. But he still is an apostate. He still took off his helmet, and still the armorer's like, we hate you. You're not one of us. You're a Mandalorian no more, right? So he's like, well, what if I could go to the mines of Mandalore and bathe in the living mines of Mandalore? And she was like, well, those don't exist anymore. And he was like, well, watch me. I'm going to go do it anyway. Prove you wrong, right? So he leaves the planet, and well, we're in hyperspace. Grogu's looking out his port window on the N1 starfighter and sees frickin' Purgle. What did I just say, Porgle? Purgle. Sees Purgle. Now, I know if you guys are new to the channel or if you've been around for a while, you know I am a gigantic Star Wars Rebels fan. Like one of the biggest Star Wars Rebels fans there is out there. If you think Star Wars Rebels is because it's animated, because the animation's weird, it's too kid-friendly, blah, 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 you are stupid. You're dumb. You're really, really dumb, and you have to go rewatch Star Wars Rebels because it is fantastic. Season 4, top-tier Star Wars, and Purgle. Okay? And now they're in The Mandalorian. I mean, talk about Star Wars Rebels. Ahsoka, Bo-Katan, Sabine, Ezra Bridger, Grand Admiral Thrawn. All these characters are going to be very, very relevant, or are already relevant with Bo-Katan and Ahsoka, going further down the line in this Mandoverse, and they all have 4 seasons of a story together in Star Wars Rebels. So it's like a prequel almost to the Mandoverse, kind of, without Mando and Grogu. So Purgle, epic. Literally the coolest thing. If you were here during the live watch party, which I know a few of you were, my reaction was literally this. No. Like, I literally, it was 4 in the morning, my jaw hit the floor. It was fantastic. So the Purgle, if you guys are unfamiliar, are space whales. They can travel through hyperspace, which is crazy, but they're space whales. And they're first, of course, introduced in Star Wars Rebels. This is the Ghost, and these are the space whales, the Purgles. So the Purgles can travel through hyperspace, and the finale of Rebels ends with Grand Admiral Thrawn, who of course, and Ezra Bridger, who of course are both going to be in the Ahsoka show. Both of them. They're going to be in the Ahsoka show in a very major way. And they disappear in the finale of Star Wars Rebels. Spoiler alert, but it's been out for like 5 years. And the Purgle wrap up Thrawn's ship with Ezra and Thrawn on board, and all the other stormtroopers and other Imperial officers on board, and jet off into hyperspace. Now, this was 5 years ago in real time, in the real world that we live in, I guess. 5 years-ish ago. I think this show ended in 2018. Correct me if I'm wrong. But in the Star Wars timeline, this is before the original trilogy. This is before Rogue One and all that. So, about, I'd say, the original trilogy is what, like 4 years, 5 years, 3, 4, 5 years, and then we're about 6-ish, 7-ish. The timeline's really, really shaky with the whole Mandoverse. According to Jon Favreau, now Grogu was with Luke for 2 years, so it's a little shaky. But about 10, give or take a few years, have passed since Thrawn and Ezra disappeared with the Purgle in the finale of Star Wars Rebels. So, where did they go? Well, the new rumor around the Ahsoka show is that, of course, these characters are going to come back and be very, very relevant. But where did they go? They went into this place called the New Beyond. Now, we know that the galaxy works as there's the core, the mid-rim, the outer rim, and the unknown regions. And the unknown regions are like where Exegol is. It's hard to travel out there. But the New Beyond is a place that exists outside of all of that, outside of the Star Wars galaxy as a whole, right? And the New Beyond is supposed to be, at least as explained in the leaks for the Ahsoka show, as a new spot that has Force users that use the Force in different ways. A lot like the Purgle can travel through hyperspace and are Force sensitive, being able to connect with Ezra and what seems like connect with Grogu while he's looking at them in hyperspace. The Night Sisters. You guys familiar? The Night Sisters from the Clone Wars also are supposed to originate from this New Beyond place. So the Night Sisters are going to originate from there. You're going to have Force users that use the Force in very different ways. It could even lead to some different species that have been either involved in the Star Wars galaxy in the past or are going to be involved in the Star Wars galaxy in the future, like the Rakata Empire in the past, or maybe even the Yuzon Vong in the future. There's a lot of Legends material out there that they could use and involve with this New Beyond, but it's going to be a crazy cool thing. And the only reason I think that the Purgle are involved in the Mandalorian Season 3 here and going to be involved in the Ahsoka show is because the Purgle are the only way to get there. My theory is that the Purgle are the only way to travel through hyperspace and get you to the New Beyond. And that is why they can't find Ezra, they can't find Thrawn for over 10 years in the Star Wars galaxy, because they're looking. Sabine, Ahsoka, Hera Syndulla, they're looking. Ezra literally told them, come find me. Literally said, come find me at the end of Star Wars Rebels. So he wants to be found, obviously. And they are looking. Sabine, Ahsoka, they're looking for him for 10 years. And the only reason they can't find him is because the Purgle are the key. The Purgle are the ones that can take them there. At least that's my theory. That's my working theory. It's a working theory. So, of course, the Purgle are awesome, and they were in The Mandalorian first episode. So it literally just started off with crazy hype. But they get to Navarro. Grogu and Din get to Navarro. We see Greef Karga, and he's now the High Magistrate of Navarro. Of course, Cara Dune's not there, but we won't get too much into that because we know how people feel about that. But it's just explained that she is off screen now. She's some special op now for the New Republic. But he also explains, when explaining where Cara Dune is, where Moff Gideon is. And I'm sure that will come up later on. Moff Gideon's definitely coming back, like, in this season. So. But there's a reason for Din being here. He needs IG-11. So at first, Greef Karga tries to, like, sell him on a plot of land, says you can settle down here with the kid, blah, blah, blah. And then his protocol droid comes in, and there's pirates there. So we get introduced to Vane, his name's Vane, right? Vane. Zoom in a little bit on Vane here. So pirates, Vane and his friends behind him. So they want to drink at what used to be the bar from Season 1, but now it's a school, right? It's a school, so they're like, yeah, you can't do that. you can't drink at a school, right? And this ends in a firefight. Din and Grief gun down his friends and tell him to go talk to his pirate king, Gorian Shard. Tell him that the pirates are no longer allowed on Navarro. So this obviously will come back to bite Din in the butt a little bit later in this episode, but it's definitely going to be a running plot throughout the season, I believe, because in the trailer we see pirates and Mandalorian fighting on Navarro. So that's definitely going to be a thing that happens further down the line. But Din needs IG-11, and he needs him to go to Mandalore with him to help either map out the planet or help just to protect the child, because he doesn't know what's on Mandalore, he doesn't know who's on Mandalore, and he doesn't know if the planet is even safe to like breathe the air or anything. He doesn't know anything about Mandalore, so he wants IG-11 with him. He's a droid that he trusts. However, we watched IG-11 blow up at the end of season 1 of The Mandalorian. So he's a goner, but he's got some pieces that were recovered, and it's mostly just his upper half. Still a little shaky on this, like how his whole upper body was still intact, but you know, who cares? But they activate him, and his old protocols are online. He wants to destroy Grogu. That's his bounty, that's his target, that's his thing. In a weird, creepy, crawly horror movie type thing, we see IG just crawl across the ground and eventually get squashed by a giant gold statue of Grief Karga's head. Honestly, when I explain that just sounds ridiculous, but it's what happened. So then he wants IG still. He wants IG, he just has to reprogram him. So where does he take him? But to Babu frickin' Frick. Babu Frick is back, ladies and gentlemen. Babu and friends. Is it actually confirmed that this is even Babu, or am I just calling him Babu because it looks like Babu? It's Babu, right? Has it been confirmed that this is Babu? I don't know, but I need more scenes of just Babu and Grogu, because when Grogu like picks him up and squeezes him, and it was awesome. It was awesome. Let's be honest, it was probably one of the greatest moments in Star Wars history, if we're being honest. But Babu pretty much tells Din that, look, your IG unit's a goner. Go get a new droid. That's literally word for word what he says, but with like the Babu voice. And Din's like, no, I only trust this droid. Just this one. Just the one droid. So he says, I only trust this one droid. So I'm going to go get you the piece for it. And if I get you the piece, you can fix him, right, Babu? And he's like, of course. Babu fixes everything. So he's off to go find the piece, which I'm guessing is going to be found at Pelimoto's on Tatooine, and that's when he's probably going to run into Boba Fett, maybe Cobb Vanth, and of course Pelimoto. So we know Pelimoto's in the season, we saw her in the trailer, all that stuff. So when they leave the planet, Din and Grogu, to go find that piece, they run into, of course, Pirate King Gorian Shard. There's a cool space battle, all that fun stuff that happens. It was such a cool space fight. I mean, we rarely see space fights all that often in Star Wars anymore, and this was a really good one with the N1 Starfighter and, of course, some pirate ships. But this guy, he is definitely going to be involved later down the line with The Mandalorian Season 3, still going forward. Star Wars Squawk Box, what is up? But he's definitely going to be involved. This is not the last time we see this seaweed-looking dude. He'll be involved further down the line. Like we talked about in the trailer, we see the Mandalorian fighting these same pirates. Hang on, let me see if I can find the pirates. These same pirates on Navarro. So that's going to be a storyline that keeps going, right? So Gorian Shard this is not the last we see of him. They obviously put a lot of work into this character's design because he's awesome and a seaweed monster. Literally looks like the Swamp Thing from comics. But this is not the last we see of him. This is definitely not the last we're going to see of him, right? And then, of course, the episode ends with Grogu and Din blasting off from Gorian Shard and ending up on a planet called Kalevala. Fun name. And there's a Mandalorian castle there, and who's in it but Bo-Katan. But she's by herself. She's alone. She's like, do 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 do. all by myself. That's Bo-Katan. So she's by herself. Everybody left her. When she didn't come back with the Darksaber, everybody left her. So this actually leads me to believe that her and Din Djarin are going to work a lot closer together in this season because of the fact that she is been left by everybody else. So this is what's going to lead Din and Bo-Katan to work closer together because she's got nobody anymore. She's literally got nobody. She's all by herself. She's got a whole freaking Mandalorian castle to herself. She sits on the throne by herself. She looks depressed in this whole scene, and this is why she'll work with Din, and this is why I think she'll be a very major point going on in the season. So that is your first episode of The Mandalorian Season 3. It was so good, like such a great, solid start to the season. I mean, it wasn't just like the greatest Star Wars content I've ever seen. There were some things that I thought were a little slow, some things that I thought were a little pointless, some things that I was like, all right, let's keep going. It's only 35 minutes in this episode. So I just wanted it to keep going. I didn't want it to stop. That is the best part. That's how you know it's a good show, when you cannot wait for episode 2. That's how you know that this show has got you. That's how you know that this show is good. That's how you know that it's going to be a fun season, because you absolutely can't wait for more. Just like I was saying at the beginning of this stream, The Bad Batch, the first 8 weeks, I was like, all right, new episode of The Bad Batch. Okay, cool. Whatever. But with The Mandalorian, it's like, I cannot wait for the next episode. And that's where you want to be with Star Wars in general, but with Star Wars as a Star Wars fandom. You want to be speculating. You want to be coming up with theories and doing all the fun stuff on the side. You know, you don't want to just be like, oh, okay, a new episode. Yeah, okay, whatever. That's not how you want. So Patrick gave it a 7.5 or 8 out of 10. I also gave it an 8 out of 10, Patrick. You are correct. You are correct, sir. Your your ranking is correct, because there is a correct answer and you are correct. He said a good first episode too. Yeah, it was a great first episode, introducing us to what's going to happen. Introduced us to the armor and all those new Mandalorians on that planet. Introduced us to the plot of the show, which is Din going to Mandalore to try and become a Mandalorian again, bathe in the mines underneath Mandalore. And set up Bo-Katan. Bo-Katan has been left by everybody. Also, Purrgil. I mean, if I didn't talk about it enough, Purrgil. I know people are going to get so sick of me talking about this gosh darn Purrgil, but they put him in the freaking first episode, so I'm going to talk about him because they just get me so hyped. They get me so a little bit too hyped. If we're being honest, a little bit too hyped. But there is some fantastic news about episode 2. I know. It's already next week. Episode 2 is going to be called The Mines of Mandalore. So that means we're going to Mandalore in episode 2. There's no filler episode. There's no let's run it out, like just keep saying, oh, we're going to Mandalore, but we're never going to actually get there. It's the next episode. We're going to Mandalore in the next episode. We're going to the Mines of Mandalore in the next episode. Okay? And the runtime. The runtime has been released. 42 minutes. Okay? So this week's runtime was 36, 35? 35. It was 35. 42 minutes. You're already 7 minutes longer, and you already know the title is The Mines of Mandalore, which is awesome. Absolutely fantastic. No filler episode. No Frog Lady in episode 2, like in season 2. It's going to just go bang, 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 bang. We got 8 episodes, and they're all going to be just straight fire and just one after the next, just bang, bang, bang. So good. And this one will be 42 minutes and called The Mines of Mandalore, meaning we're going to Mandalore, and meaning either Din's going to go get the piece for IG and then go straight to Mandalore from there, or Bo-Katan might actually come with Din and go to Mandalore, which would be honestly just as cool. If we're being honest, it would be just as cool. Hang on. Okay, there we go. Star Wars Squawkbox says, I hear the next episode is even more on the hype. Yeah, so the next episode, we're about to talk about it. The next episode is going to be insane. So there's already some reviews, whatever you want to call it, people who got early access to it, talking about how, like, even as opposed to the first episode that people thought, oh, was good, a good introduction, but it wasn't great. Episode 2 is going to be incredible. So here's what some people are saying. So, Star Wars The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 2 is incredible, according to those who were lucky enough to see it early. So here are some people talking about it. So, the first 2 episodes of The Mandalorian are some of the best, if not the best, in the whole series, especially Episode 2. Rachel Morrison is the MVP. The show, who's Rachel Morrison? Is that the girl who plays the armor? Oh, or is that might be? No, it's not the director. Who's Rachel Morrison? Somebody in the chat tell me who Rachel Morrison is, please. Somebody. The show has never looked more cinematic. I mean, talk about the first episode. It looked unbelievable. Finally, their focus and a compelling exploration of tradition and faith has seen through Din and Bo, meaning that Bo-Katan and Din Djarin are going to be on an adventure in this second episode. Big prequel vibes in terms of the global trotting. So a lot of different planets, like the prequels had, just jumping around from planet to planet, Naboo, Tatooine, Coruscant, all that kind of stuff. Interesting new locations, most likely Mandalore. Exciting action pieces and a ton of lore. I mean, we already got Purgle. We're already going back to Mandalore. It's going to be literally everything in the background on Mandalore is going to be just awesome, cool lore stuff from all the Clone Wars and Mandalore stuff and even Legends Mandalore stuff. They go in on Mandalore culture and mythos quick. So that was Griffin Skiller, whatever. He got to see it early. We got some other people here. Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan seals herself as a fan favorite person in Episode 2. Loved her. That's from Jake McBrien. Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan seals herself as a fan favorite character in Episode 2. That is awesome. That means we're going to get a ton of Bo-Katan in this second episode, meaning she will be going with Din to Mandalore. Most likely. Another person says, Episode 1 was good. Episode 1 was a good welcome back, but Episode 2 really got things going. Looking forward to Episode 3 after the wild ending. So that means that Episode 2 is going to end in this wild cliffhanger, most likely, and really get us excited for the third episode. So I think Episode 2 is going to be straight fire. Of course, Bo-Katan going to be sealed as a fan favorite character, as this person says here, but also Episode 2 is going to have people looking forward to Episode 3. And what I said before was you need to be looking forward to the next episode, unlike what the Bad Batch has been doing so far. But again, this week was way better. So this other person says, wider scale, more exploration, cooler aliens. Love to hear that. And these 2 episodes have all of that and more and set up some exciting stuff for the rest of the season. Really think this season starting so good is the addition of Rick Famuyiwa in the writer's room. So not only is he directing now, he's also in the writer's room. Season 3 truly feels like a revamp when compared to Season 2 and the Book of Boba Fett. So it's a revamp. It's people getting excited. That's what we like to hear. Somebody else says, Season 3 has a pretty sluggish start in Episode 1. Don't agree with you, but moving forward. So this person actually thinks it's a sluggish start in Episode 1. And goes on to say, Episode 2, though, is incredible in every sense of the word. Let me reread that. Season 3 has a pretty sluggish start with Episode 1. So this person doesn't even think that Episode 1 was that great. And then goes on to say, Episode 2, though, is incredible in every sense of the word. In every sense of this word, incredible. That's it. Goes on to say, the Mandalorian lore is some of the most interesting storytelling in all of Star Wars. Do I need to repeat myself? The Mandalorian lore is some of the most interesting storytelling in all of Star Wars. I literally could not be more excited for Episode 2 right now. I am literally thinking about going to sleep right after this stream and not waking up until Wednesday just to watch episode 2. And it's like time travel. Time travel. Like the Hulk says, time travel. Right? I am so ridiculous. All right. Just tell me in the chat. Are you guys excited for this second episode? Am I getting you more excited for the second episode? Star Wars Squawkbox says Rachel is the director. Oh, thanks. Yeah. So Rachel Morrison, the person, is going to be directing the second episode. If we can trust Squawkbox. Squawkbox, can we? I'll never get tired of saying your name, Squawkbox. Star Wars Squawkbox. Squawkbox. Say that 10 times fast. In the chat, I dare you. So, and then somebody else said, Episode 1 feels like a familiar reintroduction to this corner of the galaxy, but it sets the table for Rachel Morrison's Episode 2. Okay, I think Squawkbox was correct. Which is a real gem of an episode. This show has leveled up. This show has leveled up. Okay, and somebody just saying that this show has leveled up means a lot. Think about what it's leveling up from. Season 2, Ahsoka Tano's first live-action appearance, Bo-Katan's first live-action appearance, the return of Luke frickin' Skywalker, Boba Fett coming back to life after 40 years of being dead in the Sarlacc pit. Boba Fett is back. And this person is saying, after only watching 2 episodes, just the first 2 episodes, that this show has leveled up even further than there. Even further than Luke Skywalker de-aged. Even further than Boba Fett back from his 40 years in the Sarlacc pit. Even further than Bo-Katan and Ahsoka Tano's first ever live action appearance. Ahsoka Tano. Ahsoka frickin' Tano. It's leveled up from there. I don't know. Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people are just crazy and don't know what they're talking about. Or maybe this second episode is going to absolutely lose their... make us lose our minds. Make us lose our minds. Make us lose our freaking minds. Which would be insane. Insane. Star Wars Squawkbox says, I can't wait to see it. I looked it up, so I hope it's correct. Yeah, I think you're right. Rachel Morrison is going to be directing episode 2, and I don't know anything about that lady. But apparently she's done a banger job because episode 2 is going to be absolutely freaking wild. I'm getting so excited. How's the poll doing? So 50% of you right now loved it, and 50% of you liked it. Good. That's as long as none of you hated it. That's where we want to be as Star Wars fans. As long as nobody can say that was terrible, that was the worst thing I've ever seen, like a lot of people could do with the sequel trilogy. And I know if you love the sequels, hang on a second. You can either love the sequel trilogy and hate the sequel trilogy, or somewhere in between. With The Mandalorian, the best part is people love it or like it, and there's no hate for it. That's what we want. That's what we want as a Star Wars fandom. We want no hate. I know there's going to always be some. There's going to be those people like that just come into the chat and just crap all over it. But, you know, those people are the worst. And I don't know why they want to be that way when you can just be better, you know? You know? So we do have some other cool news. There are some other posters for The Mandalorian Season 3. These posters are absolutely awesome. So I just saw this. This actually came out yesterday. Disney celebrates The Mandalorian Season 3 premiere with some stunning posters. So it highlights Din Djarin, of course, Grogu, and Bo-Katan. So it seems as though Bo-Katan is going to be a very, very important character in this upcoming season. So, of course, we thought she was going to be, but it seems like she is going to be more than we even thought. So there's 3 posters, and they're all kind of like the same, but a little bit different. So this is this is, of course, Din Djarin. Din Djarin and Grogu, and this is just awesome. This is the Darksaber up the middle. This is just awesome. Might be my screensaver. Then this is the Bo-Katan side, of course. Awesome. The Darksaber up the middle. This leads us to believe that there might still be a struggle for the Darksaber, you know? Like, who do you guys think is going to end up with the Darksaber at the end of The Mandalorian Season 3? Bo-Katan, Din Djarin? Because if it's Bo-Katan, she's going to have to win it in combat versus Din Djarin, because if she doesn't, we know that that's not a good thing. The last time she got just handed the Darksaber, Mandalore was cursed, and the Empire came in and destroyed it. At least according to the armorer, that's how it happened. We did see her just get handed the Darksaber, though, in Star Wars Rebels. So I think Din Djarin, the way they're setting up Din Djarin, at least in this first episode, is he might actually be the one who brings all these Mandalorian back together. He knows all the armor. He knows the armor in Paz Vizsla and all those other Mandalorians over there. And then he also knows Bo-Katan and all those Mandalorian over there. So maybe, just maybe, he's going to be the one who brings them all together. Then the third poster is just the combination of the two. And I mean, look at this poster. This is awesome. This is awesome. The Darksaber up the middle. You got Bo-Katan on one side, Din Djarin on the other side, and Grogu right there as well. Awesome. This is awesome. This is fun, cool, Star Warsy stuff that we want to get hyped about. This is the first time in a millennia that we've been just purely excited and looking forward to the next episode. And even with the news of this second episode being straight fire and so much better than the first even, it's awesome. We literally haven't felt this way. I haven't personally felt this way since the end of The Mandalorian Season 2. The Book of Boba Fett had its moments. I thought Episode 6 was absolutely fantastic with Luke and Grogu. The Obi-Wan Kenobi show was shaky at best. The finale was great. The Andor show, talk about a slow burn. I mean, I liked it, and in the end, I liked it. But looking back on it, it was just like 12 episodes, really? 12 episodes, really? But Tales of the Jedi, I mean, that was straight fire. But it really hasn't been over 2 years since we felt this way, or I've felt this way at least, where I've just been extremely excited for what's next. And even in the Bad Batch, we broke down the Bad Batch at the beginning of the stream. The Bad Batch episode this week was just as good, if not even better, than the Mandalorian episode. Did anybody watch the Bad Batch episode? Tell me in the chat. Did you watch the Bad Batch this week? Or did you just say, no, I'm just going to watch the Mandalorian? Which I don't blame you for, but you know. So we do have to actually talk about this. I know we teased about it a little bit earlier. Let me fix the screen here. Star Wars officially English. Star Wars officially canonizes Gina Carano's Cara Dune exit post-firing. So Gina Carano, we thought, she's never coming back, and that's true. She's not. But it was confirmed in this last episode, and here's how they did it. The Mandalorian reveals what happened to Cara Dune. So everybody knows Cara Dune, right? Of course, Cara Dune. Yeah, everybody. Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. We talked about her on Tuesday a little bit. And Dave Filoni talked about her a little bit, saying, and Rick Famuyiwa talked about how she was very vital to the beginning of Mando's journey, but not everybody gets screen time. It was just them just pretty much just spitballing, like just trying to not say we couldn't use her because she got fired. That's pretty much it. But it got explained. Warning, of course, spoilers. Oh, wait, yeah, guys, spoilers in this stream. Spoilers in this stream. We're only about 53 minutes in here, but spoilers. Don't forget about the spoilers. So, Season 3 of The Mandalorian recently debuted on Disney+, reuniting fans with Pedro Pascal's Din Djarin and Grogu after a year-long hiatus from, of course, the Book of Boba Fett. In the episode, Din and Grogu return to the planet of Navarro, where they meet Carl Withers' Greef Karga after Din and Greef spend some time chatting, blah, 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 blah. Greef states that he needs a marshal because his marshal is gone. This is a good look at them, actually, right here. So Cara Dune was last seen in The Mandalorian as the Marshal of the New Republic. So Din asks Greef, why not Marshal Dune? Why not? Why not Marshal Dune? Please inform us thusly. Greef then reveals Dune's whereabouts in the galaxy far, far away, stating that she has been recruited by special forces following Moff Gideon's arrest. The explanation for Carano's character was brief, but it did give the definite answer that the character is at least absent for the time being, while still kind of leaving the door open for a possible return. I wouldn't hold your breath. I don't think she's coming back ever, but you never know. You never know. You never know. If Dune makes an appearance at some point in the future, however, she will most definitely be played by someone other than Carano. So that's what we have to kind of discuss here as fans. do you just never want to see Cara Dune again, and she's just off fighting for the New Republic? Or do you want to see them recast her and bring Cara Dune back, portrayed by somebody other than Gina Carano? If I'm being honest, I honestly would rather just never see the character again. Gina Carano played the character very, very well. She obviously is her. She is Cara Dune. Like that is Cara Dune right there. So I really hope they don't recast her. That would be devastating. A recast would not be ideal. But this goes on to say, why is Cara Dune still in Star Wars? So the choice to explain why Cara Dune is out of the picture when it comes to the actual in-universe story leaves no loose ends and no plot holes. If she would have just disappeared with no explanation, it might have felt a little strange, even though fans would have known the real reason. It would have been weird if she died off screen, or they didn't even mention it. If they didn't even mention Cara Dune not being there at all, it would have been weird. Star Wars Squawkbox says, I hope she comes back, and I want Gina Carano. I know you do, Squawkbox, but it does not look good. It does not look good. However, executive producer Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, who oversee the entire Mandoverse, have complete freedom when it comes to telling these stories. They could just easily include a few lines of dialogue explaining that Dune was killed in action, went missing, was kidnapped, etc. So that's probably what's going to happen, honestly. There might be like an attack of like on an Imperial remnant or something like that, an Imperial base, an old Imperial base, or maybe even an attack on the New Republic, and they'll be like, oh, Cara Dune died in that attack. Didn't you hear? Cara Dune died in that attack. Didn't you hear? Which would be dumb. I know, it would be dumb, and we would hate it, but it's most likely what's going to happen. Instead, they choose to keep her character in the picture, at least for now, just not on screen. Perhaps they see a return in the works at some point for the character when the time feels right. I actually disagree with this. I think they just put her off screen so that they didn't just say, oh, she just died. I think they're going to kill her eventually off screen, but they didn't want to just do it right away and upset a ton of fans. But it is important to remember that Carano was set to lead Disney Plus's Rangers of the New Republic series before she was fired. While it has not been confirmed if the show is no longer in the works, there may have been some plot points from it. Favreau and Filoni still want to tell at some point. So honestly, the Rangers of the New Republic I thought was going to be very, very good. It was going to involve Cara Dune, of course, but it was also going to involve my favorite character, or most anticipated character, coming into Season 3, and that is Carson Teva. Carson Teva is the pilot that we see in The Mandalorian Season 1, The Mandalorian Season 2, and the Book of Boba Fett. He's kind of just the New Republic connection in the Mandoverse, and he's trying to look for something going on in the Outer Rim, and he keeps saying that this danger is growing up, and when by the time we see it, it's too late. Carson Teva is awesome. So I think the Rangers of the New Republic was going to be centered around Cara Dune, but now Carson Teva has kind of taken over that role as the New Republic guy. And I think it's awesome. I think it's very, very cool, and I love the character. But I don't think we'll ever see the actual Rangers of the New Republic show, because I don't think many people would watch it if it was just Carson Teva. I think more people would have watched it if it was Cara Dune. Whatever the case may be, fans now have a definite explanation for why Cara Dune was absent in The Mandalorian Season 3. And it is safe to say that she won't be showing up in the Disney Plus series, at least for the time being. The Season 3 premiere of The Mandalorian is now streaming on Disney Plus, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, what do you guys think? Is Cara Dune being gone, like, just... I feel like it just doesn't affect the show all that much. I feel like the show is going in a different direction anyway, with going to Mandalore, all that stuff. Cara Dune had a great exit in The Mandalorian Season 2. I know, I want more Cara Dune. I loved her character, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people think what happened to Gina was actually wrong. When you think about it, she was fired over tweets that she made. And regardless of what you think or however you feel about those tweets, many celebrities make stupid tweets all the time on Twitter. Happens all the time. Even Pedro Pascal, the Mandalorian himself, does it. But for some reason, more people were screaming and shouting about what Gina said than what other people say. And that's why she got fired. I mean, look at James Gunn. James freaking Gunn. James Gunn got fired from Guardians of the Galaxy 3 as the director because of tweets that he made. Then the fans were like, no, we need Gunn back, or we're not going to go watch the Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So they brought him back. So he is directing the Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And then after that, he becomes the freaking CEO of the DC universe. He's the guy running the DC universe after already being fired for some tweets that he made. So you never know with Gina Carano. She could come back. You never know. You never know. But it is a little crazy that she got treated so much crazily, or that's a word. Look it up. It's a word. Than other people who have done almost the exact same thing. I know what she said, blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. We don't want to get into it. Whatever. Just saying. James Gunn's the CEO of DC, and he said some pretty iffy stuff on Twitter. Just saying. Just saying. Don't want to talk about that too much. Don't want to get people too angry. All right, we got some other things to talk about. The timeline, the Star Wars timeline. As confusing as it is, it's even more confusing. How much time has passed? Why does Navarro look so completely different than when we last saw it in The Mandalorian Season 2? What is going on? So, we were told on Tuesday that Din and Luke trained for 2 years, right? By Jon Favreau himself. He said they trained for 2 years. It was a quote from him. He said they trained for 2 years together. Which we were like, that wasn't portrayed very well in the episode in the Book of Boba Fett, because it did not seem like they were training together for 2 years. But a lot of time seems to have passed in this Mando-verse since the beginning of Season 1 all the way up until where we are now in Season 3. It seems to be like a lot longer than people actually think. Like maybe 3, 4, maybe even 5 years. Like how much time is really in between Season 1 and Season 2? How much time is really in between Season 2 and the Book of Boba Fett and Book of Boba Fett and The Mandalorian Season 3? Apparently, Grogu trained with Luke for 2 years. Like there could be a huge time gap here. Derpy Entertainment said it was okay, but didn't like the tone. Yeah, so Derpy, you said this in on the poll on the community tab. It was very Disney-fied and very family friendly. But isn't that what The Mandalorian is? Like, don't you think that this kind of was a continuation of the first 2 seasons and the Book of Boba Fett? Don't you think this was The Mandalorian? Don't you think this was a continuation of that story, or do you think that the tone is completely different? What made you say that it was so kid-friendly, all that stuff? No, it wasn't before, though. So you think that the first 2 seasons were more violent, more of a darker tone? The Mandalorian, Star Wars Squawk Box says, The Mandalorian Kree is family. Okay, Vin Diesel. Is Fast and Furious 11 out yet? Yeah, the Mandalorian Kree is like a family. So there is kind of a family tone. Like at the beginning, there's a whole family of Mandalorian almost. You're correct. But I feel like it's the same continuation. It felt like the same story. It was more serious in the first 2 seasons than this. I get there's a few jokes here and there. Grogu, of course, hugging Babu Frick. Babu Frick is kind of a joke himself. Grief Karga, a lot of jokes there with him. He had the 2 droids carrying him around. It's high magistrate to you. It's high magistrate for you. And he said, too short for a premiere. Derpy, I absolutely agree with you. Like, that was 35 minutes. Way too short. Way too short. Like, way too short. But we just talked about Derpy before you actually got in here. Episode 2 is going to go insane. Episode 2 is already set for a runtime of 42 minutes. It's going to be called The Mines of Mandalore. So they're going to be going to Mandalore. And some people who have already seen it are like, this is it. Like, episode 1 was good. Actually, one guy even said episode 1 was a sloppy start. And then he said episode 2 was like incredible in all sense of that word. Incredible. So we're hoping, we just got ridiculously hyped for episode 2 a minute ago. Derpy, before you got in here. Star Wars Squawk Box says loyalty family. Lol, Fast and Furious 15. Is that what they're on? 15 now? That makes sense. Yeah, no, Fast and Furious X or 10 or whatever you want to call it comes out soon, and they're already in production for Fast and Furious 11. It's like, what? What are they doing over there? At least Star Wars is good. You know, we don't sit back and enjoy the content as much as we should, because yesterday we got a banger Bad Batch episode and a banger Mandalorian episode, and it could be worse. You could be watching Fast and Furious 10. You could be a Lord of the Rings fan who's not getting any content right now. You could be a Harry Potter fan who doesn't get any good content anymore. You could be a DC fan who literally that's just a mess. You could be a Marvel fan, which I am, a big Marvel fan. And again, people will argue since after Endgame, it's kind of fallen off. But you know, it's good to be a Star Wars fan right now, and that's all you can ask. It's great. It's great. It's great. They're great. Star Wars Squawk Box says, Star Wars Squawk Box, I'm going to say it like that from now on, Squawk Box says, the first episode always recaps and sets the tone for the rest of the season. And I agree, and I thought it did a very good job about that. It set up what the story is going to be further down the line. The Mandalorian, going to Mandalore to get back his Mandalorian-ness. Again, a word, look it up, Mandalorian-ness. Bo-Katan, all depressed because everybody left her because she didn't have the Darksaber. It set up the Purgle, which I think are going to be a very big thing. Purgle, I'm telling you right now, on March 2nd, Purgle are going to be extremely important in the future of Star Wars. I'm working on a video, full-form video right now, on why the Purgle are so important to Star Wars and why they are going to be the only way and the way to get to this new beyond that's going to happen in the Ahsoka show. Yeah, that's where I'm at. Star Wars Squawk Box says, great to be a Star Wars fan. It is great to be a Star Wars fan today. It was great to be a Star Wars fan yesterday. The day before, I guess it was okay. It was okay to be a Star Wars fan. It was okay. And just okay is not okay. But I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to it. Derpy Entertainment says, I do think a little bit fans are being a little bit biased in their response on how great it was. I can see where you're at with that. But you got to remember, The Mandalorian took 2 years off. Their hit TV show, their hit smash TV show on Disney Plus took 2 years off. So you gotta just people are going to be excited. I mean, the show is back. It just on Tuesday when we were predicting what was going to happen in the episode, I was getting really excited watching the trailers, getting excited, all that stuff. Because, again, like you said, people are biased because it hasn't been on for 2 years. 2 years. So, yeah, people are a little bit biased and really looking forward to The Mandalorian. That's kind of just how it is, I guess. It was just fun to see Din and Grogu again. Like you said, it was just fun. And that's what we want. We want fun. We want fun. We want fun. So let's get into this for a second here. So the Mandalorian timeline, or the Mandalorian producer, clears up confusion. Oh, you guys can't see the screen. Well, that would help, wouldn't it? But before we start this, Derpy Entertainment said, I know, but I don't like the tone. It took too much. Hang on. Let me try to read English again, Derpy. It's not you, it's me. It's not you, it's me. You know how like people say, it's not me, it's you? It's not you, it's me. I know, but I didn't like the tone. It took me out. Is that even an English word, Derpy? Is that even an English word? I feel like that word just doesn't fit in your sentence. I hope it gets back to the season 1, season 2 tone with episode 2. Yeah, true. I get you. No, I get you. I get you, Derpy. I get you. I hope it does. I hope it does too. I really do. But let's get into this. So the timeline is being helped out here. The Mandalorian producer clears confusion on Grogu and Luke Skywalker timeline. So how long was Grogu away from The Mandalorian? In an interview with Variety, at the world premiere of season 3 of The Mandalorian, producer Jon Favreau was asked about his recent comments on how long Grogu was training with Luke Skywalker. Favreau recently said that Grogu trained with Luke for 2 years before reuniting in the Book of Boba Fett, which set the Star Wars fan base ablaze. Yeah, a bunch of fans absolutely lost their minds over the last couple days because he said that they were together apart for 2 years. However, Favreau more recently clarified the time between all of the events, saying that it is going hand in hand with the real time that we experienced it. So the producers stated that Grogu and Din Djarin reunited about a year ago, and the total time that has passed since Season 2 and Season 3 is about 0 to 2 years. So now he's not saying that it is 2 years gap. He's saying that it's 0 to 2 years, between somewhere in there. He's saying that it's somewhere in there. When it was stated that the two main characters were apart for many years, Favreau responded, no, not that many. Favreau jokingly said that he is running out of screen time because of how many more stories he wants to tell, which is awesome. You want Jon Favreau in charge, and you want him to be making as much stories as he possibly can with Star Wars. So does Favreau explanation solve fans' issues? Not really, but kind of. He just tells us that it's 0 to 2 years. That's it. He tells us that it's 0 to 2 years, which again doesn't really help us all that much, but it kind of does a little bit. Star Wars Squawk Box says, yes, biased. It's what we like, so we look for it to be so good, but with time, we are honest if it is good or not. Maybe, yeah. So it's kind of the same as like the sequels. Like a lot of people came out of The Last Jedi and even The Rise of Skywalker saying, oh my god, that was so good, and then on rewatch or just contemplating what that movie actually was, a lot of people didn't like it anymore or absolutely hated it. So yeah, there is a bias to Star Wars, so maybe the further and further we get away from this episode, the less and less people might like it. Derpy Entertainment follows up and says, I also do think the story's mission that is presented for what we're usually used to is very weak. So you don't think going back to Mandalore is a good story? Well, I mean, Season 2, if we're being honest, was epic. It was get Grogu back to the Jedi, so you had Luke and Ahsoka always there, like, in the background as a possibility. But, yeah, so it's a little bit worse. But when Moff Gideon comes back and when there's more of a threat and you see Coruscant and Order 66 and all that stuff, it'll get going. It wasn't good for what it's out to be. In my opinion, too many Grogu moments. It's when it's about Mando. So yeah, Grogu's going to get his screen time, of course. He is the child. He is everybody's favorite and what a lot of people are here to see. And of course, look down. He's on your shirt. He's literally on your shirt right now. I can guarantee it. He's on your shirt. So he sells the merchandise. So of course, they got to get their cute Grogu scenes in there. So you're not going to get a lack of those for sure. But I see where you're coming from. And hopefully as the season goes on, Derpy, we'll get going. And we'll get more excited. We'll get more and more and more excited. Yeah. So here's just one more article I got, and then we'll start to get on out of here because we've been going for an hour and 12 minutes now. We broke down the Bad Batch and the Mandalorian, all that fun stuff. Talked about the news and how awesome episode 2 is going to be, and I can't wait, and I'm getting so excited. So yeah. But here's the last article of the day. Here's why Mandalorians never remove their helmets. So there's obviously different types of Mandalorian. Bo-Katan, who can take off your helmet all the time, all that stuff. You got Death Watch, you got the Protectors, you have a bajillion different clans when the Mandalorian civil wars were going on. But now that the Mandalorians are off of Mandalore, the Mandalorian Kree that Mando faces in the armor and Paz Vizsla, they think that the people on Mandalore, the ones who destroyed it, like Bo-Katan, were bad. And the way they're combating that is by wearing their helmets and going back to the old original roots of the Mandalorian and actually trying to get rid of the curse that was set upon them by those other Mandalorian. So, episode 1 of The Mandalorian Season 3 has begun with a ritual led by the Armorer where a child receives his own helmet to become a Mandalorian. Oh, you guys can't see my screen. You guys say something. Say something. There we go. This ceremony is a part of the Way of the Mandalore, which is adhered to by the Mandalorian sect called Children of the Watch. Unlike Bo-Katan or Sabine Wren, who can remove their helmets, Children of the Watch adhere to a strict religious sort of creed called the way. So Din Djarin, of course, is a child of, is a member of the Children of the Watch. So you have the Death Watch, you have the Children of the Watch, you have the Clan Ren, you have the Protectors, you have a ton of Mandalorians. But this is the way. So they took care of foundlings, saved Beskar for their helmets and armor, and reunited them with their own kind, much like what the Mandalorian was tasked to do with Grogu. The way requires Mandalorians to never remove their helmets and show their face to another human being, a living being actually. But this is why Mando was able to show his face to IG-11 in Season 1, but violated his oath by doing the same with Grogu in Season 2. And of course, Bo-Katan saw his face. Bill Burr's character... What's Bill Burr's character's name? What's Bill Burr's character's name in Season 2? Cara Dune, of course, saw his face. Fennec Shand saw his face. Oh, what the heck's Bill Burr's character's name? Somebody in the chat, help me out. Somebody in the chat, help me out. Any Mandalorian who violates this element of the way, just like Mando did, were considered apostates and no longer Mandalorians. The path of redemption was bathing in the living waters beneath the mines of Mandalore. And that's what Mando is set out to do in Season 3. So yeah, that's what we're going to get in Episode 2, by the way. That's what Episode 2 is going to be. However, at this point, within the Star Wars timeline, the Empire had reportedly bombed Mandalore into ruin during the Great Purge in the Night of a Thousand Tears. It is likely that the Children of the Watch actually survived this Imperial attack of genocide because they were living on the moon of Concordia. So the moon of Concordia was going around the planet of Mandalore, and that's where the Children of the Watch were. They weren't on Mandalore. And their strict code of English, of course, has allowed them to survive for many years. In past episodes of The Mandalorian and in Season 3's premiere, the Armorer has alluded to the act of removing one's own helmet of their own free will is being viewed as more severe than having it removed against their consent. So if somebody else removes your helmet, it's not as bad as if you do it, of course, of your own free will. Meanwhile, other Mandalorians who don't belong to the Children of the Watch, such as Bo-Katan, remove their helmets at will and view those who follow the way as zealots, and members of the cult. So Bo-Katan has said that to Din Djarin's face before, that he's a member of a cult. Okay, we won't keep going with that. But do you guys think that the Mandalorians sleep and shower with their helmets on? Or do you think that Din Djarin's just really stinky under there? What do we think? Star Wars Squawkbox says, Mando has his own clan of 2. Don't forget, true. He is the clan of 2 with himself and Grogu, and they are the clan of the Mudhorn, I do believe. And yeah, that is a very, very, very true. Star Wars Squawkbox. All right, I'm gonna get on out of here. That was a fantastic stream. We go for almost an hour and 20 minutes. But I mean, these streams are going to be long when we got a lot to talk about. We got a lot of fun things to cover. We talked about the Bad Batch episode, which I thought was so good, and I can't wait for the next 5. Of course, The Mandalorian starts with a bang. And although Derpy, you don't believe me, I guarantee it started with a bang. And I think it's just going to keep going from there. And the tone, and hopefully will get better for Derpy here. And we'll keep going from here, because episode 2, I think, is going to be straight fire and just absolutely insane, because all these people are like, episode 2 is where it's at. Episode 1 was okay. It was a good start, but episode 2 is where it is at. Star Wars Clockbox says, do you know what's wrong with your America? You teach English but don't speak American style. Have a good night. Okay, well, thanks for roasting me on your way out, Star Wars Squawkbox. But yeah, I suck at reading English words. You know, English is the worst language ever. I've come to that conclusion. I only speak one language, and it is English. Okay? I learned Spanish in school, but, you know, I didn't retain any of that. And English is the worst. It's the worst. That's what I've come to the conclusion. It's the worst. It's a bunch of made up Jimbo, Jambo, Jumbo. Just like that sentence was. Yeah. So I blame you, Star Wars Squawk Box. Okay? I blame you. You're from Michigan. Okay, well, that makes sense. I guess. You agree? Yeah, you agree. Okay. All right, I'm going to get on out of here. Of course, smash like if you haven't already. What are you doing? What are you waiting for? Smash like if you like this video. Hit subscribe. Of course, hit that subscribe. And that bell, of course, so you get notified every time I post a video. And my pretty face will show up in the recommended feed of yours. Look out for that video coming out about the Purgle. It's going to be wild. I think the Purgle are the future. And I know nobody believes me now, but wait. You wait and see. You wait and see. The Purgle are the future and the way to get to this new beyond. I'm telling you. And I'm right. I'm always right. So may the Force be with you. Always. Yes. What a great stream. What a great stream. Oh, yeah. You guys are the best. You guys are the best. Oh, wow. We're live? Oh, hang on. Oh, sure. Yeah. You guys are the best. What a great stream. Shout out to Derpy. Shout out to Star Wars Squawk Box. Shout out to Patrick. You guys are the best. All right. Good evening and good night. Or what does he say in that movie there? Okay.